This is a story of four friends, Roshan, Vipul, Amar, and Satwant. Left, to right in the image, four inseparable friends who first crossed paths during their college days. They graduated in 2013, but while college came to an end, their friendship didn't. If anything, it grew only stronger with time. No matter how busy life got, they always found a way to reconnect, chasing moments, making memories, and living for the next adventure. This story is a tale of one of those adventures. This is one of those stories. One unplanned ride, one unforgettable journey. Hop on and see the world through their eyes. Ready for the thrill? Let's go on a ride! It was February 2017. The winter chill was sharp in the air. After 4 long years since college, Amar, Roshan, and Vipul finally decided to catch up, and they gathered at Vipul's house. The plan was simple: meet, chill, and relive old memories. They went to the terrace, which has always been their spot, sipping tea and soaking in the crisp evening breeze. Mid-conversation, Vipul casually said, "Have you guys seen Satwant's new motorcycle, Royal Enfield Bullet?" That one sentence lit a spark. In no time, they decided to ride 50 kilometers to Satwant's place to see the motorcycle for themselves. The moment they arrived, Satwant was shocked and delighted to see them. After a round of excited hugs and banter, all quickly checked out the motorcycle. Satwant grinned and said, "Why just look at the motorcycle? Let's go on a ride." Minutes later, they were on the road to a nearby Gurudwara, the thump of the bullet echoing through the hills. After paying their respects, they headed to a quiet riverside. There, between laughter, test rides, and old stories, the real idea took shape. Amar looked up and said, "Let's go somewhere. Let's ride, really ride." "Where to?" Roshan asked. Satwant's eyes lit up. "Shimla, not too far. The roads are great and the views absolutely stunning." All nodded with hope and excitement. But suddenly Satwant realized something. One problem, though. Only one motorcycle and 4 of them. But Satwant, being the local guy, made a quick call. "Bro, is your motorcycle free? Need it for a couple of days." A pause, then a smile. "Yes, we're sorted," said Satwant. Excitement was through the roof. And yes, it was a quick packing time. The next morning, at the crack of dawn, they were ready. Jackets zipped, bikes gleaming, spirits high. The journey began, mountains on either side, cool wind in their faces, the rhythmic hum of the engines beneath. Hunger hit them not long into the ride. They pulled over at a tiny roadside dhaba, run by a warm, middle-aged couple. Satwant shouted, "Uncle, some hot parathas and curd, please." They sat at a wooden table, their bikes parked in view, and devoured paratha after paratha. Parathas were so good, they lost count. Uncle finally chuckled with exhaustion and hesitation. "Want more?" That's when they realized how much they'd eaten, and all of them burst out laughing. They paid, thanked them, and got back to the motorcycles. While leaving the dhaba, they chatted about generous dhaba owner and delicious parathas. And soon, they were back on the road. As they climbed higher, the weather shifted. Cold winds swept in, and soon fog cloaked the highway. Visibility dropped to barely 10 meters. Satwant, riding just ahead, disappeared into the mist. Suddenly, heavy rain started pouring. Roshan and Amar scanned the roadside desperately and barely made out a petrol pump. They stopped under the shelter, hoping Satwant would spot them. And he did. Satwant spotted his friends in dense fog standing under the shelter. In minutes, all 4 of them were waiting under the pump's roof, shivering but smiling. After 15 minutes, the rain let up, and the skies cleared just enough for them to move on. Not far from Shimla, they noticed an old, mysterious tunnel with non-operational railway tracks curving into its dark mouth. Naturally, they stopped and parked their motorcycles to check out the vintage tunnel. They moved towards the tunnel with excitement. But something about the place felt off, silent, almost eerie. After a quick look inside, they decided not to linger, and they get back to their motorcycles to continue the ride. Then, just as the sun began to dip behind the hills, Shimla appeared before them. The famous Christ Church stood tall in the distance, and they could already feel the excitement bubbling up. They reached the ridge, parked the bikes, and walked up. The view was breathtaking. The Indian flag waved proudly above them, backlit by the golden hour sun. They just stood there for a while, soaking in the moment. They visited the church, then found a spot to sit, talk, and bask in the rare winter sunlight. That was all they really wanted, not sightseeing, but time, together. As the sky darkened, they knew it was time to head back, and soon they get back to the parking spot. But the return ride wasn't easy. Soon they were swallowed by a thick, unforgiving fog. Visibility dropped to barely a meter. They had no choice but to follow the white line painted on the edge of the road, their only guide through the mountains. Progress was painfully slow, barely 5 kilometers per hour. But somehow, they pushed through and reached a small village called Nahan out of the densest fog, and finally caught their breath. By the time they got back to Satwant's place, it was already mid of night. Tired, cold, and still buzzing from the ride, they took some good rest. The next day, with a refreshing cup of tea, they sat together and reflected on the day. This unplanned trip gave us so many unexpected adventures. Sometimes, it's the spontaneous plans, the ones without itineraries or expectations, that turn into unforgettable memories. All you need is the right company, and everything else falls into place.